while we're live.
Uh,
I love it. Yes, let's go. Oh, there it is. Boom. We're live.
okay.
There we go. We're in here.
We're in here. So we got Tim jumping in here too in a second.
Perfect.
So usually this is before we hit live, we just kind of get caught up on how life is, how's business, and all that fun stuff. But
absolutely
feel like we don't have the luxury of doing that today.
Getting the backstage conversation right now, which is
I
great.
know this is crazy. Which I mean, I would say go grab some water, go grab a coffee, maybe. Or you can just listen to Reggie and I chit chat about business and life and weather. Absolutely. Maybe we even talk about the weather. We know everybody loves to lead conversations.
That's a great transition into sales technique, right? Is sparking conversation, making it the know, trust, and like, as they say. But making small and allowing people to connect with you, I think is vital.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about something. We're here today for anybody. We'll do a quick reintro as well, but this is the first version of SMARK Coffee Chat where Amber is not here, so we're going to be running the show for everybody. And today's conversation topic is customer satisfaction. So we'll get into that. We got one more joining us. Tim O'Hara is going to be joining, but Reggie and I want to talk about something. Actually, I'm going to bring it up, and Reggie, I want to get your opinion on this. When we jump onto initial calls, initial phone conversations, this is a sales question. Mm-hmm. I try to do every single thing that I can to avoid talking about the weather, because I feel like that's everybody's default is going straight to the weather. Like if you look at my back wall, like I threw this stuff up on the back wall to purposely be like, let's talk about, I'd rather talk about something back here, right? Or like something in the back wall rather than weather. But for whatever reason, like the second it's like, can't think of anything or it's just not working, you're like, yeah, it's like 70 sunny in Chicago. It's great today. It's like, damn it.
Said you lost me. You lost me right there at 70 and sunny.
Yeah.
That's a great question, man. With my team, and kind of how we navigate through sales conversations, I think the way that you kind of get around that is by prepping the call. And actually for us, it's calling the person before the call starts, right? So you've kind of already built that relationship. There's Tim. And so us,
hey guys. And we're live. We're live right now.
Just we are live. But I think the big thing for me, man, is how are you prepping that conversation and that person for the actual call, right? Mm-hmm. So then you're not really digging into any of the basic conversations that they've heard 1,000 times, right? So you've already got them amped up, ready to go, with that pre-call conversation that we have, because once that appointment drops on our calendars, the first thing we do is reach out and get them excited about the call. So, no sales, nothing along those lines, just a real, intro call that gets them ready for the call that we're having. So yeah, we eliminate the weather question.
The weather question
process.
Yeah. And Tim, just to fill you in, because we wanted to wait to start talking all things customer service, kind of the topic of the day. Mm-hmm. So Reggie and I were, just literally getting caught up, and we realized that we were live. So I just threw out a question of how do you avoid on a new sales call talking about the weather? I feel like that's the default for most people. So we started a little bit light today, and I always like to build a little bit of rapport at the beginning, especially if it's a new call. But Reggie, everything you said is spot on. Got to be prepped.
Yeah. If you're not doing research on the people that you're having conversations with before, you're headed for disaster, right?
Yes.
So you should know a little bit about the person that you're going to have a phone call with, especially, in my space with high ticket, right? If you're not doing your research, or you can't think of anything else but the weather, these people are high level thinkers. They already have an idea of what they want to do. So
they don't want to talk to you about it.
They don't want to talk to you.
They do not want to talk to you about the weather. And a lot of times they want to just get right to it, cut to the point. So it's up to you to know, like I agree with you, to know the type of person you're about ready to hop on a call with.
100%.
All right. So, Tim, welcome to the party. Again, as a quick reintroduction of what we're doing, I am not Amber. I think most people are used to seeing Amber on these calls. This is our first edition of SMARK Coffee Chat, where Amber's sitting on the sidelines for this one. So we're going to run with it with this group. I've got two incredible guys here on the call today. Reggie with Comma Closers, and then Tim O'Hara with Hack Ninjas. So my name, probably should introduce myself because not a lot of people in SMARK know me. My name's Jared Gibson. I'm the co-founder of an agency called Outworks. We work with founders and executives to help them grow and monetize their LinkedIn network. And we do this in a way that is more about creating demand through content, growing the network, and then creating demand through content and engagement than it is, I think, what we have all become accustomed to, which is the pitch slapping and the loudness that has become LinkedIn. And if you can get past that layer of spam and get into LinkedIn for what it's actually meant to be used for, which is really a networking platform, there's a massive opportunity there. So that's my 30-second little spiel on what my company Outworks does. I'm going to kick it over to Reggie and Tim and let them give you guys a quick background on what they're doing. So Reggie, we'll start with you, man. Go.
Yeah, man. So of course, I'm the founder of Comma Closers, where we connect, of course, companies with their clients. So we are the person that is the brand and company that is an extension of who you're representing, of course, in the marketplace through sales. So we get you closer to the sale, essentially. We facilitate, of course, lead management services, setting and closing services in order to, of course, eliminate that service or that step in your business from you so you can get more time back into your day. So we work with consultants, agencies, you name it, in the space of high ticket.
Awesome. So Reggie, you take them from lead in, bring them through the pipeline and the funnel to close one.
Correct.
Awesome.
So,
love it.
Yeah, a lot of companies just don't really I say they skip the formalities of sales, right? So going from the actual lead prospect and taking them through, of course, your customer journey is kind of what we look at. So you have a lot of companies out here that are just setter closer based. We actually believe in lead management. So taking that lead all the way through your process and then knowing how to either A, nurture them, B, sell them, or C, just get them out of your pipeline altogether.
Yes, love it. Actually having a process and a strategy behind it. Cool. Tim.
Yeah. So the Hack Ninja, we're designed as a part of maintaining the trust in your brand. So trust is hard to build and easy to destroy, right? So and if people don't, and so what we do is we help to identify unknown cyber risks. This could be in a sales funnel, it could be in the supply chain, right? Anywhere in your processes where people are interacting and interconnected. And so the key thing there is actually, I just had a financial institution lose an opportunity because they didn't have multi-factor authentication in their bank account process, and the client said, I send a lot of money through my accounts, and I don't want to subject my business to that risk.
Got it. So as part of what you're doing, how do you prepare people? Because I know that Hack Ninja is very good at being proactive and helping businesses prevent it from happening. So what are some of the tactics that you guys are using on the prevention side?
Yeah, we do assessments. And so basically we'll walk through, your internal and external IPs, and we will basically identify vulnerabilities, but then we'll actually not only identify them, but we'll actually take it further and see what we can do. And that way you clearly know what your risk is. And then we provide an easy to understand business outcome report so that you know what you need to do differently.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, appreciate the background from both of you. I think that paints a nice picture of how you can help anybody in the audience. But today we are here to really talk about all things customer success. So, and everything that really comes along with that. So retention, engagement, satisfaction. And I want to start with a layup question for the group, and I will answer this as well. Put yourself in your customer's shoes, or put yourself in the shoe of anything as a buyer, right? What are the most important things, one or two of the most important things that you want to feel as the customer that is the one that's buying a product or buying a service, right? And they're non-negotiables, right? So these are the things, if you don't check these two boxes, like I'm not going to give you a nice review and I'm not going to tell my friends about you, right? So Tim, why don't we start with you on that one?
Yeah, for me is responsiveness. You certainly need to be reasonable with people, but I think that's a key thing, especially in anything that is mission critical. The other thing is the quality of the communication. If we have to go back time and time again to get things answered and addressed, it's just probably not going to be an effective, efficient relationship.
Yep. For sure. And with that, I think the quality of the communication is very important. One of the things that I love, and actually we started incorporated at Outworks, is we're busy, right? We don't have time to sit and read through emails, or jump on calls to talk through stuff. Loom has been like, somebody sent me one time a Loom video to walk me through a question that I had rather than jumping on a call. Like, it literally took a minute. I'm like, I got this, like, perfect video. So we started to incorporate that in with Outworks, and that makes the communication in the back and forth from a customer standpoint, like, awesome. Like, it's a great, like, it just immediately took it from here to here from a relationship
that's
standpoint.
great.
So yeah, Tim, I'm with you on that one. Reggie, what about you?
To kind of piggyback off of that, you have to know who you're talking to, right? So for you, Jared, that'd be great. For me, I'd be like, okay, there's another automation. So I'm a sucker for a good sales pitch, and because I'm in it. And so for me, it is personality. Again, like I said earlier, is how are you effectively communicating with that person? Learning the person that you're speaking with is key. Now, of course, there are a lot of sales opportunities that you don't get that time to really get to know or meet that person. But, like you said, feedback, having those conversations, but then knowing how to speak to that person. Like for you, you're like, I'm busy. Like, for that person to know that, or at least have that in their toolbox to say, okay, hey, he's not answering my calls. He's not responding to my emails. How about I send this over as another opportunity? So versatility in your ability to reach out to people. And then I'd be able to identify how to connect with you consistently, right? So it's like, cool. I know Jared wants a Loom, Reggie wants a phone call, Tim may want an in-person, experience. So having that versatility in your toolbox of sales is so important.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess I kind of build on a little bit of what both of you said, but for me if I put myself in the customer's shoes, it's response. Like, I think response is it's the easiest thing you can do as a business, yet it's often the most overlooked thing.
Correct.
The businesses do. And I don't get it. Like, I'm zero red, like zero inbox guy. Like, and I flag things that I know that I need to get back to on. Like, all I'm asking, even if you don't have the solution or the answer, just let me know that you got my note.
Yeah.
Right. It's super simple. Like, and that little thing right there is the difference between like keeping a client like for long term. Yeah. Like, if you just respond like, don't have an answer yet, or I think I know this, but let me do a little bit more digging. I'll get back to you. And then as a build on that, like tell them it's time frame you'll get back to them in, right? And if you're going to miss that time frame, don't let that time frame pass without letting them know, like, hey, I know I told you I'd get this back to you by the end of the day today. Still doing a little bit of digging. I'll get it back to you tomorrow morning, right? So it's just that proactive communication. Is so important, right? That's one. And then two for me is transparency. Like if you know that stuff is about ready to hit the fan. I don't know if this is PG-13 or R.
Right.
But if you know that something as a business is something is not good or you don't like what you're seeing, don't wait for that bomb to explode. Like defuse that bomb. Be proactive and be transparent with your clients. I appreciate that as well as a consumer.
So, because they're expecting you to be the expert in space, right? And so number one, of course, alignment is great on that because then they can actually see you as that expert and you can kind of make those recommendations. But no, I totally agree. A proactive approach. You never want your client reaching out to you trying to, because then they've already went through it 100 times on what's not going and how you're not delivering. And so, having that consistent communication is huge for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So Reggie, question for you. Let's stick with you for now. How do you address the client? Okay, I guess we just kind of talked about this, but how do you address the client pain points then before they escalate? I guess we literally just talked about this. It's being transparent, right?
No, 1,000%. But on some backlog, or some backstage kind of conversation, the big thing is having those touch points in place, right? So a lot of people now can use project management services, things along those lines that can ping you or ping the customer consistently to make sure that deliverables are being made on a timely basis, right? So a lot of companies now, of course, use customer success managers or things along those lines to kind of stay connected with that client as they go through the journey. But a lot of it, of course, you can automate, right? And then what it does is it not only holds the customer accountable for their journey, right? Because that's important as well, right? If you're looking for things and you're trying to get things from them and they're not responding, you can then go back when you have to have that tough conversation and say, well, hey, based on our journey with you or during this process, we've been waiting for X, Y, and Z since the 15th of the month, and it's the 30th, so kind of leveraging that to create responsibility on both ends with that communication is so vital. And so, for me, those would be the things that we already talked about. Of course, the communication and being proactive, but also utilizing the systems that we have now in place to say, hey, just want to ping you again. We haven't received this, or just to let you know, this is the next step. And there's a bunch of programs out there that allow you to do that, and then also provide, slides and timelines so the customer can see it too. So it's more visual. So like you, Jared, you could pop in and say, okay, cool. I know y'all need this and it hasn't got done. That's on me. And I think those are the great things that we can kind of look at. Or if it's on us, we can, again, have that conversation on why it's taken so long for it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, creating context up front of the relationship, like understanding. And then also I think as a build, I mean, we have to hold our clients accountable sometimes.
Absolutely.
Right. And like you said, if there's software, like we use Notion for this, like Notion's our project management system. So we have timelines in there and it says like, this is when we want to hit play or we want to start or when we want to do this, right? Like we'll work with you on this, but just know like these are the deadlines that we're putting in place and then holding clients accountable to that.
Absolutely. And that is where the relationship is built, right? In that space. And like I said, then it's not a conversation from the 1st through the 30th, and you're like, well, we've been waiting on you, and then there's been no conversation, and then there's no opportunity to hold them accountable. Then it falls in your lap, and that's not
yeah, for sure. Tim, so switching it over to cyber for a sec. So with the amount of, I think we as the consumer, as the business owners, often we know the dangers of cyber threats, right? On the surface level. And obviously your business is to get in and truly find that bruise and press that bruise and show people like this is a lot more real than what you think it is, right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
So how do you balance having like a robust cybersecurity measure, because we know that it needs to be taken serious, with also having like that seamless user experience, like, right? Because you don't want to scare people to the point where it's kind of puts them off. But so how do you kind of balance those two together?
Yeah, I think there isn't a one size fits all answer to that. That's the first thing I would say. So the first thing you want to do is engage, just like you would engage an attorney. You want to engage a risk advisor around with cyber to understand, you know, your business, your risk appetite and your risk tolerance, right? And then finding the right balance, like you said, of um, you know uh, technologies or um, and processes and policies, right? It's all that it starts at the governance layer and works down. Um, and there isn't a one size fits all answer to that, but you have to assess. The biggest thing is assess, do, and then reassess, and then do again. What we recommend is assessing on a quarterly basis, because technology changes like dog years, right? And so, um, so this is a way to, if you're always assessing, you're never getting anything done. But in a quarter, you can say, okay, here's what we're going to do this quarter, and then we can look at the outcomes, and then and that way you're working with an assessment that doesn't have mold on it.
Who within the organization that you guys work with is typically your internal champion, right? That can kind of get people in line to do what they're supposed to do on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, so that's usually the chief technology officer, the chief operating officer. That those are the people where the rubber meets the road. Um, and then on the business side, it's usually folks in marketing, because they touch a lot of the customer stuff. Or again, depending on the function that they're really look at, that they're concerned about. But it's usually it's in the operations function and the business. And you think about technology is basically a mirror of the operations of the business, right?
Yep.
And so those are the people that we usually work with.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay.
Reggie, anything you got? You want to talk cybersecurity? Anything you got there? No. All right. All right.
I love that point where he says, technology is, essentially the mirror of how your business is flowing. So that was great. That was a gem, Tim.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
Tim, that may be the mic drop moment for you there. So if you disappear from this call, then we're fine with that. That's a good one.
Yeah. If I disappeared, it'd make too many people happy. So
I've been in some companies, man, where the tech is definitely the mirror of the company. So the company's all over the place. So is the tech, so is the communication, and so are those pipelines. So yeah, great point.
For sure. All right. So Reggie, feedback loops. Let's run through some feedback loops. How do you guys use like the feedback loops and data, like in the data you get from those to kind of feed into customer loyalty? Because I think that we all agree that there's a big difference between a happy customer and a loyal customer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you use the feedback and the data that you're getting from your clients to help kind of feed that loyalty?
No, that's a great question. So for our company specifically, and how we are integrated in that loop is, of course, because we're taking that customer from lead to essentially the sale. It is collecting that data. So from the window shopper to the person that's seeking information to the solution seeker, right? We're able to then gather that data to, number one, make sure that the client's message is clear and that we're attracting the right people to the offer, right? Number two, really navigating through how, again, those timelines are put into place and what communication needs to go out. So when we talk about loyalty, it's identifying, of course, because we touch every lead, have a conversation with every person to make sure that we know exactly who they are, where they want to go. And with that information, we're able to customize their experience moving forward. So then they're not getting a random email that's not designed for them, a nurture email when they've already purchased. Like, what's the point? Why are we wasting time doing those things? So when you talk about a loyal customer, it's catering that process to them specifically, right? So then we can proactively make suggestions to what it is that they need in the process. So if they purchased their first product, we are already proactively setting up the second product, right? Or the third product, fourth product, fifth product. But if you've never had those conversations and you don't know what that customer needs, you're just, whether they say throwing it at the wall, hoping that it sticks, right? And so I think for us, gathering that information, having that conversation, discovery calls, what most people call them, is huge. But then also taking that information and now putting it into the system. So then we know, hey, 3 months from now, this person should need this product. So we have it prepared and we're already having conversations. So I think your proactiveness in their sales process is what makes them a loyal customer rather than them always coming to you. Now, of course, that comes into play when we talk about customer service, right? How you're treating that customer all the way through as well, right? So you're not just always selling them something. It's making suggestion. It's getting them through and getting them to the next product that is going to be important.
Yeah. And I think that it's like, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's the small things that matter. Like if you get feedback and like whatever that is, negative, positive feedback from a customer, and you address that, like whether or not you, like if somebody tells you you need to change this whole process, like you're not necessarily going to do that unless you hear that multiple times. Right. But simply acknowledging that they did that and not acknowledging it once, acknowledging it multiple times. Like, hey, I'm acknowledging this today. And then maybe bring it up in conversation 2-3 months down the road. Like that little small stuff, like people remember like, oh, he actually or she actually paid attention to what I was saying. So it's crucial.
To me, there's truth in everything that's delivered to you, in some way, shape, or form. Now, there may be things that people, like you said, you need to get rid of your whole process, right? Maybe Blockbuster should have listened to that with Netflix. Who knows, right? But in the process, right, there is some truth in everything. But being able to, of course, segment that and say, okay, maybe this is information that we can use later, or maybe this is something that we need to check into. And then, like you said, providing that feedback, and it's not automated. Like, hey, we're actually listening to what it is that you have to say. The most successful companies have, as I like to say, they stay in beta, right? And I think I used this on the last call. We went from iPhone 1 to iPhone 17, right? But it's because every phone is getting updated based off of that customer service response and what the people need. So if you're just throwing out products based off of what you feel the market needs, instead of listening to the market and listening to your customers and getting them involved with that, to your point, with loyalty, that's how you build that closed loop and create that relationship.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Tim?
Can I add one comment here?
Yeah.
And as well as you're building these processes, and I totally agree that the closed loop method is excellent. You want to make sure that you have some safeguards in place. And I actually have a real story that happened with someone who I spoke to recently. So in their CRM, they had a customer support person that they and the client didn't have a good communication mode going on, and the person typed in Mr. Grumpy for the name under the and they didn't realize that they had changed the master record for that person, and when they did an outreach to that client, it said, "Hi, Mr. Grumpy."
Mr. Grumpy.
And it wasn't Mr. Grumpy. It was something less politically correct, but it wouldn't be appropriate for me to use that word. So I just decided to use Grumpy.
Yeah.
That's. I think we've
earlier to making sure that the technology mirrors the company, right?
Yep, you got it.
Yes. I think that we've all had those moments where we, at least, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. but I've definitely sent out stuff and then realized when it was too late, like, oh, ouch. Like that's a whole separate call, fun stories that we can head down. That's probably more of a rated R conversation. Backstage conversation. Yeah. So staying on the idea of relationships and not pissing people off with messages, calling them names. Tim, what, like when we talk about the data breaches, right? What are some positive steps that your clients or small businesses can do to really, like, or I guess actually you do with your clients that can build trust with their clients? Right?
Oh yeah. First,
from a proactive standpoint.
Yeah. One, tell their clients that how they're protecting their information. Two, having some proactive education that you do. Hey, client, let's say you're a financial institution. I do a lot of work with banks, educating their client. I do live events where we actually walk through some funds transfer scenarios where the average loss is $138,000 on these, and we walk through. Here's things you don't want to do. Here's things to look out for. You even see people reach out with emails. Hey, beware of people asking for your password. Right, that awareness stuff. Set up your own little community awareness with other business owners, and talk about near misses or things that have happened. The learning from each other it's definitely how they do it in the military. And I don't have a military background, but I know lots who do. I play one on TV, I say. But that continuous learning is really how you will drive effective change. The other thing, and again, make sure you have, again, and then, monitor what's happening to make sure you're doing what you say you're doing as effectively as possible. And, but those would be a few things. There's many more, but I think that's a good snackable tip.
Yeah. I love the idea of community, like getting people together. Like I'm thinking about, so in a previous life, I was running marketing for a company that was hacked, right? And we had ransom, like it was out there. And luckily at the time, the leadership team was all together. So we all literally, it was one of those things like in a movie where everybody's phone starts going off and you look up and it's like, this is happening right now, right? Yeah. Where it slipped through the cracks. And we all jumped into it because we had been trained on like, here's what's going to happen, but we still learned a ton actually having to go through it. Like, how do you, because we had small business owners, like our client base was small businesses. So we have to put together kind of a disaster recovery, like a program that messages out to our clients. And so we went through all this and it was like, I never thought about this. I never thought about this. So now thinking about it as somebody that's gone through it, like I was always I know it could potentially happen to any small business. Like, well, like it happened. Right. Yeah. So the amount of value, I believe, just from having gone through it, that I could bring to one of these groups, or anybody on our leadership team at that point could bring to one of these groups on, now we know how to prevent this a lot more. Like don't like take this stuff serious, because if it happens, when it happens to you, it is not a fun experience to go through. And guess what? Your clients are not going to be happy because they're going to blame you. Exactly. We're the one that's going to get blamed for it.
That's absolutely right. Well, and the key thing that you really talked about is how well you recovered from it. Mm-hmm. Because that's the key thing. The reason companies go out of business when they get ransomware is because they didn't have a plan in place and they couldn't recover. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's we also will do like tabletop exercises with folks, to walk through those scenarios, because you think better when you're not under stress than when you are. Mm-hmm. But it's most people. I can't say I know everyone on this, this webinar. But and so by walking through those scenarios and thinking through them and have a process in place that you can rely upon is also a very another key step for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're coming up against it. This has been awesome. I think for our first one together as a group, sans Amber. I think hopefully Amber would be proud if she's listening.
Amber watches and like,
yeah. But let's go with one last final thought on customer service, customer experience. Like, if there was one thing that you could leave the tens of millions of viewers that are watching this out there, probably 100 million at this point, right? It was 10 million when Reggie and I were talking about random stuff at the beginning. Then 10 joined, and then
the numbers just dropped. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So Reggie, why don't we start?
I would say when it comes to customer service, retention, satisfaction, you just have to care, right? And it has to start at every level of your business. And a lot of that goes into play, right? I always tell people your business should always serve you first so you can show up, right? And so a lot of that comes into, how you're pricing, what your messaging is, how your company is set up, right? So if you are off on any of those levels, naturally, you're not going to be able to take care of the customer. I use thousands of analogies and case studies on that, right? So how is your company, of course, if you're an entrepreneur, right, or someone that is strapped for time naturally, you only have enough time during the day. How are you setting up your business to, number one, take care of you first so then you can take care of your clients? The number two, again, just caring and putting those things in place that show that you actually have the, not to say that you have to look bigger than you are as a company, but to put those things in place. So if you're a solopreneur, as they say now, it's nothing to ping somebody for their birthday, let them know that you care. Like you said, Tim, if there is a hack, right, getting ahead of it, right? Tell people criminals are professionals too. So they're just like we're looking for customers, so are they.
Right.
So, just being proactive in that communication and those conversations, but it has to be important to you. It can't just be a numbers game to pay the bills. It has to be a complete business that allows you to show up the way that you want to show up for your people, and which we all got in the business for in the first place, right? Is to be of service to people, to help people because we feel like we have something that's going to impact their lives and their businesses. So I would say implementing that customer service, retention, and satisfaction everywhere from your pricing all the way down to how you take people through your journey is going to be key.
Yep, for sure. Mic drop for Reggie. Awesome. Tim?
Nice. I think the best thing is treating people the way you want to be treated yourself. Put the other hat on. And when you want to send something, if I was them, is this what I want to hear? And sometimes it may not be what they want to hear, but at least you can tell them, at least you can, be as transparent and as, if you're just showing how this is the best thing you can do for them at the given point in time. I think that's all anyone can ask for. So, but I think the golden rule applies very well to customer service.
Yeah, for sure. Great point. And I guess I would add on top of that, actually, I'm going to pull this book, Power of Moments. You guys read this one?
No.
So it's I think it's a must-read book for anybody, and it talks about how people remember the small things that are so important, and that's what keeps them coming back. So that's my mic drop. Anybody that wants to understand what that means and wants examples of what that means and wants ways that they can take the example. One of the examples in this book is there's a hotel out in California, and this hotel has it's a kind of an old school motel, California motel that you see in like the Lethal Weapon movies or whatever, right? But it's upkept nice. It's fine. It's a good hotel. But by the pool area, there's this red phone, right? And this red phone by the pool area is the phone that only kids can use, right? And when the kids pick up the red phone, the ice cream man answers on the other end, and they ask what flavor you would want, and they hang the phone up, and then the ice cream guy comes out and delivers an ice cream cone with that flavor to the kid, right?
Nice.
So if you look at the customer satisfaction scores on this hotel, it's through the roof because of that, right? There's probably, like the toilets probably clog up and whatever, but that is what keeps people coming back, because that's the memory that you plant in these people's heads. Like if you have a family, like the red phone is at this hotel, this is where you go. It's a small things that matter. So there's a bunch of those types of stories in this book, Power Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. So I highly recommend it. But
because when you have family, when you have kids, the one thing once you get back in that car or on the plane, you say, did you have fun? Right?
Yes, right. 100%.
That red phone, and you're going to give them that 5-star rating. No, that's great.
Yeah. So we will close with that. So great talk, fellas. This is, again, our first SMARK Coffee Chat together. We were on one last month with Amber, but this is one without Amber, and I'm seeing some of Amber's comments. So I think we're good to go to move on to the one next month as well.
There we go.
Based on that. So awesome. Well, great seeing you guys, and look forward to doing this again next month.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, fellas. See ya.
Cheers.